Dead Space 2 is all about real space, real terror. And with the sequel, we're trying to move everything forward in the franchise. And we're really trying to focus in on Isaac as our main character, retaining the fact that he's an engineer, and mixing up the game's pacing so that people don't know what to expect. You know, what's around the corner, we don't want them to know. We're hoping that we can scare them and just continue to keep them engaged in the game through big, epic set pieces and really tense situations and awesome combat and fun mechanics. Well, with Dead Space 2, we really want to expand what we did from the first game. So we've enhanced everything from the controller out. We've enhanced stasis. Now it recharges over time so that people are encouraged to use it more often. Kinesis has been sped up so that it's an actual viable combat strategy. You can pick up pointy objects in the environment and fire them back at necromorphs and impale them. Now you could do that in the first game, but it wouldn't actually impale them. It wouldn't do a lot of damage, but now you're actually able to go on the offensive with Kinesis. Also, we've enhanced Isaac's zero-G abilities, allowing him to move freely in 360-degree space. As just a few of the things that we've done. We've also sped up Isaac quite a bit, so he's more responsive. We've modified the aiming and tweaked that, so it just feels better. And we still allow the option for people that enjoyed the original style aiming to have that as well with classic aiming. So those are some of the things that we've changed. A lot of the bigger changes in the game really come from the story and the way that we're trying to tell it this time. This story is all about Isaac, his particular situation on the Sprawl, how he got there, why he's there, and ultimately, as you play the game, revealing what's going on, what's that deeper level of what's happening. We've also created a whole bunch of new tools and weapons for Isaac to use, and also went back and modified some of the tools and weapons that people didn't really play around with very much in the first game. So we've listened to what players have said. For instance, the pulse rifle, we've modified that alt-fire to turn it into a grenade, which is very different and works really well. And we want to encourage players to try other tools and weapons this time out. With the first game, people really enjoyed the plasma cutter and they kind of stuck with that from beginning to the end. In Dead Space 2, we're giving you the option at one point in the game to actually respec your weapons. So if you've been playing around with a bunch of weapons for, say, a big portion of the game, and I know as a gamer, sometimes you start min-maxing and you start putting all your points into one thing, and it's really hard to want to switch because you want to get to the end of that tree. With Dead Space 2, you'll be able to pull those nodes out, drop them into something else, test it out, see how it feels, determine if you like it or not, roll with it that way, or pull them out again and put them back into your plasma cutter or whatever other tool you'd like to do that with. So that's a pretty big change. Dead Space 2's rogue gallery of new enemies is pretty diverse. We've got the Puker, who's an enemy that actually can use projectile vomit to damage Isaac, but players can actually turn that against other enemies. So if you sever one of his limbs, you can actually have that bile that gets expelled damage other enemies. So players can be very strategic by using an enemy against another enemy. The Puker also can slow Isaac down, which allows other enemies to close in on him. We've got the Cyst, which is kind of an environment hazard that, again, can be used against other enemies. We've got Crawlers, which are these kind of moving, exploding, pussy, sack-filled, baby-like critters that you can damage and actually take out other enemies with, or sever their heads and grab that pulsating sack and fire it back at other enemies. We've got the Stalker, who's kind of a pack mentality creature that will try to surround and overwhelm Isaac and hit him from a bunch of different directions. We've got a creature called the Nest that's a zero-G enemy that you're going to experience. So we've got a lot of new enemies, and we've got a lot of new necromorph variants based around our Slasher, Leaper, Lurker, Exploder. Dead Space 2 is going to have bosses, and they're going to be very specific to what is going on in the action. So players are going to have to kind of experience the story and see how those things evolve, but I can tell you that there's some good battles in there. In terms of who Isaac fights in Dead Space 2, players are going to have to play the game to find that out. I don't want to give away any spoilers, but rest assured there's plenty of sack blasting and dismemberment for all. We really like the fact that Isaac is an engineer. So in Dead Space 2, he's going to have a pretty good mix of tools and conventional weapons. Honestly, there's one new weapon that gets added to the game that is just an outright conventional weapon. It's actually called the Seeker Rifle, and it's actually what the security forces on the Sprawl use. Pulse rifle makes a return. That was in the first game. That was kind of a military-grade, machine gun-like weapon. But the majority of the weapons that Isaac uses are actually mining tools, and we are continuing on with that. I think the death sequences in the original Dead Space was something that people really enjoyed, so we're doing a lot more of those in Dead Space 2. So there'll be a lot of interesting and different ways for Isaac to kind of find his end throughout the game, and people are going to just have to give it a try and see what's in there. Dead Space 2 is coming out on January 25th, 2011 on PS3, Xbox 360, and PC.